All right, ladies and gentlemen, so I actually got enough data together that I can actually now kind of do like a tier list and a general overview of all the leveling options gearing wise that us paladins have. Not just talents, but like gearing plus the talents and the different builds and so forth and so on. So the first and number one on the list, no surprise to anybody who's followed any kind of Cargo's video or any kind of speed running anything for classic World of Warcraft, is the stamina intellect, aka of the eagle build. Um, it's got the fastest leveling speed out of any of the paladins, whether you're pulling 4 mobs at a time or you're pulling 5 mobs at a time. Even if we're giving you something stupid like 15 seconds to gather up a pack of 5 mobs, and then 70 seconds to AOE them down, and the 20 seconds or something that you need to recover from that. In the grand total, it just beats everything else out of the park for leveling speed at a whopping 22 seconds per kill, and that includes all factors like recovery time, gather time, everything. That's basically what these kill times mean, is that it's my attempt to get very, very close to factoring in everything. Not only that, the Stamina Eagle, the Stamina Int Paladin build, it can tank, it can heal, it can DPS, and it's actually pretty damn good at dual leveling. There's also an additional caveat here that it's probably the best hardcore build there is, period. Just because things that are going to kill you, like really, really dire situations where you're getting punched really, really hard, and you don't have time to let spirit regeneration work or anything like that. Of the Eagle gear is you're just basically just a walking tank, basically. So absolutely amazing. Even its single target kill times are competitive, believe it or not, with the strength, stamina, two-handed ret builds out there. They'll try to tell you otherwise, but math says differently, especially when you learn how to play it properly. The only major downside to Stamina Eagle build are two things. Number one, it's a little bit worse in questing than, say, some of the other builds out there. It's not the worst in questing, but since it's more of an AoE build than a single target build, you can see why questing it might have some slight issues. But its major, major downside is that it's very, very expensive to gear it on the auction house. And if you want to gear the damn thing, you really need to, as soon as you enter a new zone, you need to start typing in chat that you're looking for of the Eagle gear, particularly plate gear of the Eagle gear, and you'll pay for it, blah, 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 blah. However, if we look down here and we've got some of the writing I've got going on here, let's make this red because that's my traditional color for drawing attention to things. You'll see that it uses about 4 to 5 pieces of this gear as being stamina spirit gear, so that cuts down on the costs somewhat, particularly if you're having trouble finding a piece of gear, it's getting outdated, you want the armor, blah, 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 blah. But more importantly, you don't really need to start going stamina of the Eagle until you hit level 41, which is when your AoE farming really gets going. So it's a little cheap until level 41. But that brings us into the next one here. Anyways, absolutely amazing build. Do not leave home without it. Anyone who tries to tell you it sucks is literally insane. All right, so here's the new one that I just figured out recently, and I just got done doing a video on it. It's this one right here, the Stamina Spirit of the Whale build. This is a very weird and dynamic build. And in fact, I can show it to you guys over here, because I still have the stuff up. No, that's not it. Here we go. This is a very weird and dynamic build. It uses a two-handed weapon. It uses Holy Shock. And it has a very strange rotation to it, which you can see right here. It has a very strange rotation to it because it's killing mobs in 25 seconds. And Holy Shock is on a 30-second cooldown. And you're trying to get as many spirit ticks as possible in between. So basically, you're front-loading a bunch of damage, and then you're doing nothing for a long period of time, but beating on it with Seal of Righteousness and yada, yada, yada. And then you're killing the crap out of it with, Holy Shock, a Judgment of Righteousness, and you're just wrathing the mob to death. And when you do that, you get some very, very good kill times. The mana cost, because of all the spirit ticks, is absolutely amazing. It's just a really, really good, solid Paladin build. So let's go back over here. No. We don't want the music. We want this right now. So some of the weird things are it uses bits of the owl gear. This can cut down on the cost somewhat. But mostly it's using of the whale gear, which means it's a very cheap auction house gearing option. It is a bit of a brick shithouse, so just like the stamina of the eagle gear, this is a very, very difficult paladin to put down. He does not have to run from anything. If extra mobs come in, he doesn't care. He's just like, oh great, just I got consecration in the rotation. I just do more DPS. Whoop de doo. I just don't hammer of wrath as much. I just consecrate more. Very, very difficult paladin to put down. The only weaknesses of this paladin is that you can't heal in dungeons very well because you don't have the mana bar that you really want from an of the eagle build. You are the no the only other downside to it is there any other downside to it? Trying to think about this. I guess it just doesn't have as good. You can't AoE farm anywhere near as well as the of the Eagle Paladin. You can do 3 mob pull AoEs decently, but nowhere near competitive with the of the Eagle build. This changes somewhat depending upon how much of the owl gear you've mixed in. You start mixing in enough of the owl gear, the next thing you know, you can pull 3 mobs and burn them down pretty damn efficiently and pretty damn well, and like noteworthily so. This is definitely, in my opinion, I can already tell you right now, this is by far the best duo leveling build because you don't have to drink for shit and you're just a endless mana bar. It's actually kind of insane. So if we go back over here to our tick here, you can see that in the 21 seconds of downtime that our rotation is giving us theoretically, we gained basically 600 mana back from it just from existing, right? Like, Blessing of Wisdom wasn't even doing beans for us. We just literally just gained shit tons of our mana back just from literally existing. And that's without Judgment of Wisdom. This is without Seal of Wisdom. None of that stuff. So when you're dual leveling with somebody and you play slightly different, and the next thing you know, you're using Judgment of Wisdom and you're using a Seal of Wisdom to beat on things with a fast one-hander like a Knightly Longsword, and you're consecrating, but you're still respecting the Spirit Ticks, or you're doing the two-hander thing, or whatever the hell it is that you're doing, this is absolutely amazing. However, for its cost, it's absolutely amazing. However, depending on what kind of AoE a dual leveling you're doing, the of the Eagle gear might actually be better. Because again, of the Eagle is just better AoE, whereas this thing is just a sustaining monstrosity. Okay, then we have the strength stamina builds. That's number 2, second best paladin build in the game. Very interesting playstyle. Have a lot of fun with it by all means. Trying to make this TLDR, so I'm trying to talk fast. But the TLDR of the TLDR of paladin leveling in classic World of Warcraft is this. Rule number 1 is have fun. Everything else is secondary to having fun. So if the 4th build or the 3rd build on this list is your way of having fun, that is by far the best build for you in classic World of Warcraft. Like, period, end of story. It's not about speed, it's basically about having fun, right? Even on hardcore, it is very, very easy for you as a paladin to get to level 60 playing a stamina eagle build, int build on hardcore and get to 60. Not the hardest thing in the world to do by any means whatsoever. However, you might not have fun doing it. So the stamina spirit build might be significantly more fun in case you need to re-roll a paladin or you want to run a paladin for the first time. It's unique, it's different, blah, 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 blah. By the time you get into strength stamina or stamina agility, we're talking about builds that are questionable for you to be leveling in hardcore unless you're specifically trying to have fun. On non-PvP servers, these builds are questionable outside of having fun, just because they have slower kill times. By all means, if you're having fun and there's no risk of death, like it's not a hardcore server, it's not PvP, by all means, go do this. Having fun is by far more important than anything else. On a PvP server, all 4 of these builds start getting viable for different reasons. So, for example, the strength agility build starts becoming viable on a PvP server just because the mobs that it's killing are basically out in the middle of nowhere that nobody's killing anyways. So you're not going to get ganked very much. The strength stamina deep rep build is actually pretty good for PvP. That's one of its main benefits, particularly on a PvP server. However, the stamina intellect and the stamina spirit paladin will absolutely wreck face on a PvP server to an alarming and frightening degree, just because these paladins do not fucking die. Holy shit. So, for example, you can be half life, half mana in one of these two paladins, and you get ganked, and you'll win that fight like 90% of the time. It's actually kind of ridiculous, as long as it's not a 2v1 gank or something like that. And then the Stamina Intellect Paladin has Reckoning, so he can just find a two-handed weapon and start deleting people out of existence on a PvP server. These are all three of these builds, all four of these builds are very good for PvP. Anyways, the Strength Stamina build. So theoretically, the Strength Stamina build, okay, so not theoretically, is that you want to try to use as much, let's get a different color, you want to try to use as much Strength, Stamina, Spirit gear as possible. Now, if we could get Strength, Stamina, Intellect, Spirit gear, like if that was a thing that they offered us in the game, it would be unquestionably the best gear in the game, period, for any Paladin build that ever existed. Stamina, Intellect, Spirit, by far the best gear that a Paladin can possibly have while leveling in the game, period, end of story, because of the way of how stat just distribution works. So, for example, if you have an item that says it has 4 Strength, 4 Stamina, and you compare that to an item that just has just has Strength or just has Stamina, rather than it being like 8 stats, it drops the stats down to 6, if that makes any sense. So basically, you only get 75% of the stats. So when you find pieces of gear that have Stamina, a Strength, and Spirit on them, there's just more stats for you to play with as a Paladin. So, Strength, Stamina Paladins are technically supposed to be running around with as much Strength, Stamina, Spirit gear as they can possibly get their hands on, which is kind of abundant on the auction house and fairly cheap, so that's nice. Theoretically, however, if they can't get their hands on Strength, Stamina, Spirit gear, they're supposed to use Strength, Spirit gear, not Strength, Stamina gear. But good luck trying to tell the redheads that this is the case. It does more damage, Paladin. Have you factored in armor? Like, just don't come at me, okay? Theoretically, you're supposed to be doing the strengths. It's the main reason. The same argument for why you, as the two-handed ret paladin, are using wisdom rather than the damn might blessing on you while you're leveling is the reason why stamina spirit gear tends to be better for you than the damn strength stamina gear. Just trust me on this. If you don't believe me, go do the damn math. Know that spirit gear is giving you every 4 spirit gear gives you 1 point of mana regeneration per tick, which is a 2-second tick. So it's 8 points of spirit, gives you 1 mana regeneration per second if your spirit tick are regenerating. And then you just have to look into, okay, if I can turn that 1 point of mana regeneration into DPS, what does that look like? And that's basically how you get the stamina, intellect, stamina, spirit geared paladin that's using a 2-handed weapon and a holy shock and hammer of wrathing people to kill them. And you're like, what the fuck is going on there? The answer is you're getting so much mana back that you're then turning around and turning the mana into DPS that it makes it a viable and very fascinating and interesting build. Okay. Needs yeah. So this is one of the major issues. So strength stamina does have really good kill times, as you can see here. However, it's very inconsistent, both on an individual pull level and on a gearing level. So down here, one of the major pros and one of the major cons to the build is that you need constant dungeon drop upgrades. So if you're the kind of paladin that has a lot of fun in going to get that quest reward, going to get that dungeon item, doing kind of semi-twinking out your paladin while you're leveling, the strength stamina build is absolutely amazing for that, because you're going to have you're double dipping. Not only are you going to have a lot of fun doing what it is that you're doing, so the con is a pro for you basically. But you're also going to get much better performance out of the class, which means you're going to have better kill times, which is going to cause you to come into my chat, into the comment sections and try to tell me that I'm stupid, that the thing is actually really good. It's not. Let's move on. Okay, so this is down here is the Drakova build, where Drakova literally just stacks strength, agility gear, He finds like mobs out in the open world, like he grinds on like raptors and stuff, like mobs that aren't patrolling around very much, so he can just go from mob to mob to mob. And he literally just like watches Netflix or anime or something, or plays another video game while leveling his way to 60. The strength, agility, the tiger build is one of the fastest leveling builds out of all the paladins in the entire game. But it is boring as all sin, unless you're the kind of person who really digs that kind of a build, if that makes any sense. Don't have to pay attention a lot. When I was doing something similar, I was running Dust, getting rank 14 rank 13 back in Era. I was running Dust, watching She-Ra on an iPad. I mean, like, damn good TV series, by the way. Not as amazing as people say it was, but it was still actually pretty damn good. She-Ra was actually pretty damn good. I'm not gonna lie. But other than that, go watch Narcos. First season of Narcos, absolutely amazing. What else is there to say here? I think that's pretty much the end of the TLDR on your paladin gearing and leveling options. Is there anything else I want to say? Okay. So the only other thing that I want to say is that certain items while you're leveling are absolutely amazeballs. So for example, Mark of the Chosen is almost universally a trinket that you want to pick up as soon as possible, which is like level 44, level 45, somewhere around there. It's like a 1% chance proc on hit, gives you, let's go over here, gear planner. Let's go over to the gear. Okay, cool. Mark of the Chosen. Equip. Has a 2% chance when struck in combat, increasing all stats by 25 for 1 minute. Proc chance 2%. Absolutely amazing trinket. Every paladin uses this trinket practically while leveling. Super easy to get from a Marodon quest line. If you've never done the quest line, it can be super a pain in the ass. Just make sure you're with a group that's done it before. You just got to go kill some elite jerk-off cons, and you're pretty much good to go. The next trinket that is worth talking about is Uther's Strength Trinket. This trinket is actually so good that we still use it in PvP on Era, even to this day. Basically, 2% chance when you get punched in the dick that it gives you a like 400 to 500 HP like shield. And that sounds stupid while you're leveling, but if you're doing any kind of AoE whatsoever, Uther's Strength is absolutely amazing. If you're not doing AoE, you're doing the single target thing, this trinket is still absolutely amazing for just keeping you sustained up, believe it or not. It's just a really, really damn good trinket. There aren't a lot of good substitutes. Goblin Mortar comes to mind as a potential substitute. Yeah, but not really. Oh, the only other thing to note is that while you're leveling, enchants can be kind of expensive and or time consuming to get, blah, 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 blah. But one of the items that is really good for all paladins while leveling that is super cheap and definitely punches above its weight class is thick leather armor kits. You can put them on your boots, you can put them on your pants, you can put them on your chest, and you can put them on your gloves. Why is it? Because thick leather is incredibly abundant in classic World of Warcraft, whereas most of the other ones are a little bit harder to get. That's thanks to people AoE farming the Raptors and Unguro Crater. They're super cheap. It's literally to have somebody to craft them for you. Put them on anything and everything because armor is absolutely amazing for you while you are leveling. Anyways, I'm going to try to keep this video short and end the video here, and Deus Ult, boys.